Good afternoon. There we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another crypto market update. I'm your host, Justin Wise, lead analyst and senior mentor at KrakenCryptocurrency.com. Hopefully everybody is doing fantastic on this beautiful August 29th day, wherever they happen to be and wherever you happen to be tuning in from. We have quite a bit to talk about today. Honestly, we have a lot of time to waste because price is not really doing anything significant. All right, and we're going to take a look at that. Bitcoin has been consolidating around the $59,000 to $60,000 price point for the last couple of days, and just not really any interesting price action after we broke out of the ascending triangle formation several days ago on Friday, following Jerome Powell's quite dovish comments that he was going to cut interest rates. We did move quite quickly to 65,000, which is something I anticipated, and 65,000 was unable to hold, and we pulled right back down. A couple days ago when we were streaming, if you guys will recall, I had kind of played with the idea of taking that long position as we had pulled down at that point in time on Tuesday to the top of the previous range. But then I decided not to, and I actually ended up taking an avalanche short, which was profitable, by the way. And now we find ourselves lower. So obviously it's always great in hindsight to have seen a trade set up that you were considering taking, chose not to take, and then check back a couple of days later and see the price is a couple $1,000s lower. That's always a really good thing to see. I don't know if you know that, but it makes you feel really good inside. It gets you all the feel-good juices going. But when we look at the market today, overall, I still favor the risk to the upside with one slight caveat and change, which I think, let's just get into the charts and break this all down. If you guys have any questions or comments along the way, as we'll be streaming for about 30 to 45 minutes today, just feel free to put them in the chat. And thank you so much for joining us, whether you're joining us live or whether you happen to be watching this later on. Okay. We got to change that title card up there from Breaking Bitcoin Market Update to Crypto Market Update. Either way, it doesn't matter. So here we are, Bitcoin on the daily time frame. As we can see, we've just got three simple indicators loaded up here. We do, of course, have the DPMO, the Decision Point Momentum Oscillator from Lazy Bear, that is going to be acting as our confirmer. We have the Gann Swing High-Low V2, that's from Chris Moody, that's acting as our baseline / initiator. And then we also have our time transformation down below, which is also acting as our initiator and our exit indicator. All of these indicators, with the exception of time transformation, are free on TradingView. Anybody can use them. You can make a strategy out of anything. The hardest thing is just sticking to it. It's not too hard to make a strategy. The hard thing is sticking to it, as I've said many, many times. Let's just check in. I do want to check a bottom feeder. As we can see, bottom feeder is firing here. It actually fired yesterday. So bottom feeder is one of our more popular algorithmic strategies. It's designed to detect bottoms. Bottom feeder is signaling a trade position here. It is favoring the long swing. It is looking for the trade up to 61,544 with a stop loss around 55,000. That's a fine trade to take. It's in line with my bias right here. I do find this current price point interesting. I do still favor the idea of the long swing, especially since we have such important economic data coming out next week with the ISM manufacturing index, with non-farm payrolls, and with the US unemployment rates. Those are going to be very key. And as we've seen time and time again over the last year, Bitcoin does react very decisively to macroeconomic data. A very different trading environment from how it was back in the day when I first started trading, 2016, 2017, 2018, where macro and traditional markets and crypto could not have been more untethered, more disassociated. In fact, inverse many times. That's simply not the case today. Crypto, while it has not reached that level of correlation with the traditional indices like the NASDAQ or the Dow Jones to make us think, okay, well, this is now just fully Wall Street, fully just a buy proxy. It's not reached quite that level of correlation. It has not. Absolutely not. But the impact of macroeconomic data is certainly strong on Bitcoin. And we've seen that time and time again, Bitcoin reacting with more volatility in the same way as we would expect the NASDAQ to react. So, with the same kind of memes that, of course, it's going to spike up, a couple of days before Jerome Powell's going to speak. And then when he comes out and speaks, it crashes down, or before CPI data is released, for example. And that's happened every single time CPI data has been released this year. Bitcoin spikes up in anticipation of positive CPI data. Positive CPI data comes out, and then Bitcoin's price fully retraces the movement that it made over the next 48 hours, unable to sustain its rally. And we could, of course, say, well, that's because we topped in March, Justin, obviously. Like, when we topped in March. Maybe. we're still holding out the hope for the continuation of the 2025. Although something I did share, of course, and that I just want to always feel I want to point out, because I never know if a new viewer is watching, new people find our content every single day. Although, of course, we did top in March, and while since then, if we just objectively look at the chart, since March, we have not made any higher highs. The only thing we have done since March is continue to make lower lows and lower highs. So we are definitely in a downwards trend. All right. Now, we haven't been able to make, some would say, significant progress in there. It does look more like consolidation, but if it is consolidation, it's certainly consolidation with a bearish stance, with a bearish bias. All right. So since that is the case, since we can objectively determine that the market environment that we're operating in has more bias to the downside as we continue to make lower lows and lower highs, while we, of course, as crypto natives, as people who want to make a lot of money in crypto, we always want to be open to the possibility of a very bullish 2025, of breaking out of this consolidation to the upside, of one day looking back in 6 months on this, kind of bearish stance and being like, oh, how silly we were to think that price could possibly go below 30,000. Here we are comfortably in the $150,000 zone. I cannot believe we ever thought we were going to go so low. While that's always what we want, of course, we have to be very mindful of risk in this environment. Of course, I recommended everyone publicly on stream and in my private trading community to move into cash between March and April, and I'm still sitting in cash. So even though I am taking long swings, I'm trading margined in USDT. I have not moved my stack back into BTC. I'm not currently holding altcoins of any significant size, except for long-term investments that I've had for multiple years now. For example, Blockstack, I've been holding that for almost 5 years now, and I'm happy to do so. Small amount of Bitcoin and Ethereum that I just continue to hold in cold storage, but for the most part, and that's my capital management trade that I take basically every couple of 2 years. It's just the one trade that I take every couple of 2 years. Am I going to hold Bitcoin for a year or two, or am I going to hold USDT for a year or two? And right now I'm in the holding USDT because, and I'm very glad that I have. That has been a very good decision in hindsight. Anywho, so all that being said, I do find the current price point interesting. I do favor the long swing, especially if we do get positive reports coming out next week. Now, the reports that are going to be coming out next week are important, not just from the trading perspective, but also for anybody that stands to be impacted by the American economy, which RE read the world. We are moving into a recession. Okay, we are moving into a recession. Those that are in power are doing everything that they can to distract us from the fact that conditions at home are very terrible. And the way that they're doing this, unfortunately, is by right now, in an election year, always polarizing us, dividing us, and making us focus on talking points that are not systemically important. All right, they're not systemically important. They're not going to, not that none of these talking points are important, not that any of these passion points are not irrelevant or are irrelevant or not important, but the cold economic facts are not being displayed to us. Nobody is happy to just calmly and coldly and passively talk about the facts, which are the facts of the matter. You know what I mean? So basically everything that has happened prior to every major recession in the United States has already occurred. Yield curve inversion, the central bank aggressively raising rates and keeping them raised for an extended period of time, yield curve inversion and yield curve inversion staying, bond yields being depressed and getting crushed actually, despite volatility in there, despite headlines saying like, oh, bond yields are flying. Like, bond yields are not flying, dude. They're not flying. They're not, like, just zoom out. All right. And, of course, everybody conflates a recession with inflation, and while they are often experienced simultaneously, they're not necessarily, and inflation is not a recession and recession is not inflation. They are two different phenomena that often occur together but don't have to. All right, so when we're mathematically defining a recession, inflation, it really has nothing to do with the recession. Inflation certainly makes the impact of a recession worse, because a recession is nobody's hiring and nobody has money. And if that's the case, that already sucks. But then if everything's really expensive that you need to live, that just sucks way more. They're just layering the suck on top of what you got going on. Okay. Of course, right now we do have inflation and recession simultaneously. And of course, inflation is nothing more than the expansion of the monetary supply. That's all that it is. And we also have this phenomena of a lot of foreign of USD that is held by foreign entities coming back to the United States, unfortunately. Okay, so rants out of the way. what I mean, the point that I'm trying to miss here, and the segue that you guys probably forgot, because darn it, I almost forgot. Why is next week important? Not just for traders. It's important because non-farm payrolls comes out next week, and non-farm payrolls is the last chink in the armor of a mathematical recession. So currently, non-farm payrolls is just consolidating, going sideways, and being stagnant at about 125 units, which that's on a 3-month moving average basis. That's how it's reported by the Department of Labor. And so it's, you know, the analyst expectations are that it is going to be positive next week. And if it is, that is going to be good. And Bitcoin will likely benefit from that. Bitcoin will likely begin to pump based on that data, especially if you get a positive ISM manufacturing index. All of that data is going to be coming out next week. September 4th, 5th, and 6th, I do believe. No. I think it's September 4th and September 6th. I do know that ISM comes out earlier in the week. And I know that non-farm payrolls and U.S. employment data do come out on the same day, one in the morning and one later on in the morning. Yeah. Non-farm payrolls is going to be very important. For those of you who don't know what non-farm payrolls are, is literally the metric of private job creation in the United States. And a recession is mathematically defined as non-farm, or historically, every single time we've entered a recession, it's when non-farm payrolls has gone below 50,000. So we're nowhere near there yet. Okay. The market does seem to be pricing or signaling that we are heading into a recession. But the facts are not actually there yet. If private job creation can U-turn here and begin climbing, then we can't avoid a recession. All right. You know, things are still going to be rough with inflation that we're currently experiencing, with the rising cost of everything, with high prices. But if private job creation can get stimulated and individuals can get hired and back to work, then at least life will somewhat be better. Okay. And we can avoid a mathematical recession. If non-farm payrolls begins to decline over the next months, then things are beginning to look pretty grim, ladies and gentlemen. Things are beginning to look pretty grim. So let's get back into the charts. So we are just kind of on, I think we're on pause for next week. Again, I do favor the long swing here, but I do want us to take risk into account. As we can see, we are currently holding the daily baseline, so we do have upside momentum still. We have retraced the entire distance from the breakout of the previous bearish baseline. We have now pulled back all the way to the actual zone of the current bullish baseline, a divider between bullish and bearish market cycles. Not market cycles. Bullish momentum and bearish momentum. So we do want to be favoring the longs here. This is a particular trade setup that I do like. We call it a reversal baseline bounce. This is essentially when price breaks out and pulls back to the baseline, usually re-enter. Now, there are a couple of things that are a little bit of fly in the soup here. For example, we of course did, we can draw out a nice ascending basically triangle here that we formed and that we were able to break out of. And we have returned basically back to the bottom of that zone. All right. We are making a higher low still. All right. So we have our third consecutive higher low. So overall, nothing wrong there. Okay. We haven't made a lower low yet. All right. But the thing is, if we do break down below this current baseline, so basically if we don't just start moving up from here, then things begin to look not grim, but dangerous. And since we have, a whole weekend and then several days before we start getting any of these reports, I do want us to be wary of risk because, of course, we've noticed that every time Bitcoin starts to break down below, with one exception, and that was right at the beginning of the consolidation, but without exception, following April, every time we break down below the daily baseline, we make new lows. Okay, every time we break down below the baseline, we make new lows. We made a new every single time. We made a new low here, and here, and here. Okay. So we have not broken down yet. All right. But that is definitely something we want to be watching. So if you are entering long here, earlier on Friday, I talked about let's be gentle with it. Let's have a wide stop loss. I have re-advised that. So I just updated my community of that yesterday in our community, in our weekly mentoring session, and today with our official signaling system. But I do think that we want to be a little bit more conservative here, and we want to be putting our stop losses between 57,000 and 58,000. And personally, my stop loss is at 57,500. I feel that's good. I feel that gives me just enough wiggle room to price to come down here and liquidity grab below this current low. And it also gives me a tight enough stop loss so that if it does get hit, I'm not going to feel bad if I get sucked out. That's just a skill you have to kind of develop. Like, you're always going to sometimes set a stop loss and it's going to get hit and then price is going to move in the direction you wanted it to. That's always going to happen. It's just part of the game. It is what it is. You can't feel too bad about it. You can't beat yourself up. Otherwise, you're not going to make any progress as a trader. Like, you're not going to get everything 100% right ever. And if you think that you are, you're just setting yourself up for failure. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Of course, if you guys just want to stay on the sidelines, that's completely fine. But I am favoring the long swing here, certainly in anticipation. I do want to be positioned before next week's macroeconomic data comes out. And of course, if we do end up breaking down below, then we'll revise. The smartest and safest thing would, of course, be to put on that short protection right away. If we do end up getting that daily close right now, where is the baseline coming in at? The price point on the baseline is 59,188. So if we do get that close, let's say below 59,000, we probably do want to be putting on that protective short just in case. Until we actually hit the stop loss of the long, we don't have to close the long. We can just hold the two positions open and be hedged, and then we'll close the long out if price goes down, and then we'll obviously recoup on the profits we would make from the short, ideally. All right, otherwise we get fully alley-ooped, and that sometimes sucks, but again, sometimes it happens. So that's what I'm looking for. Putting on short protection if we get a daily close below 59,200, let's say. 59,188 is actually where the number is coming in at. So that's the current game plan for Bitcoin for me. Daily long swings. I did end up taking a short-term short because we did get an hourly signal. All right. So the hourly signal is only going down to 58,235. So ideally, I would look for price to go down, hit my take profit, and prior to daily close of tomorrow have rebounded a little bit, all right, to give me a little bit more confidence in the long swing. But I am going to go ahead and position for that long swing right now. 3.5 I think is far. Yeah, that's way too much. We just want to do the 1.5. And even that's too tight. So I do. That's too tight still. 0.75, 57,622. There we go. I like that. That makes me feel pretty good about it. So that's the trade setup. We'll go for 3,100 on the position size, and we'll just do 57,500. All right, this I'm going to be taking in my futures account, not on the copy trade account. All right, Bitcoin, go to the daily setup here, and just gonna get long for 3,100. And we are going to be putting our take profit last price at 63,444. And we're going to be putting our stop at 57.5. All right. And we'll buy long. All right. So we do have the long swing position now. Again, as I said, tight stop. Might get wicked out. Like I said, we might get wicked out on this due to weekend volatility. And as I said, we'll probably be putting on that protective short. If price does end up continuing to go down over the next few hours, we do, of course, have the position in both the Fairdesk and Jumpex copy trade account. Just a reminder to those who are under my copy trading, I'm only going to be supporting Fairdesk. Let's see, August. Until the end of September, and then I will just be exclusively on Jumpex, which is my recommendation for everybody to get off Fairdesk and go on over to Jumpex. You will get a much better deal. You will have access to much more pairs, much more liquidity, and it's just a better exchange. All right, so I feel good there. That's fine. Let's double check the copy trade. Yeah, here we just have the 1 hour short trade setup, just looking for that swing low. So likely what's going to happen is by daily close today, either this copy trade will have failed and the long swings will begin to look quite good. Verk and Alex, good to see you guys. No, never late, man. Never late. I'm only running for like another 20 minutes anyways, but we're good. So what will likely be happening by daily close today or tomorrow is that either the short trade is going to hit its take profit, in which case, as I said, we are going to be putting on those protective shorts on the daily time frame, hedge shorts. We will, of course, leave the long open as long as we're above 57,500, which, as you can see, doesn't really give us a ton of wiggle room. But we're still, I mean, listen, still discretionarily, I am still overall favoring for the long. But since price is moving down, we have to trade in the direction the price is moving because that's what actually makes us money. Ferg says, is it going downhill over the long weekend like last year? Let's see here. I mean, we're a far ways away from November. November is usually when we get the death spikes to the downside historically during cycles. Basically to recap, like everything that I was saying for the last like 15 or 20 minutes. Chart is exactly the same as the week going into the long weekend. I mean, yeah, like Labor Day last year. Let's go look at Labor Day last year. Would be like August 28th. I'm so terrible with holidays. Wait, okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're talking about this. Well, I mean, listen, that's definitely a risk, all right? So, yeah, so just to recap essentially everything that I was saying, I mean, long story short, you know, I've been sitting in cash since March and April. I've been telling everybody else to sit in cash too. I'm still optimistic, all right? I would still love to see a bullish 2025. I am absolutely ready to pull the trigger at a moment's notice once I see all the signs and signals that, yes, hey, we're going up. Infinite bull market, 100,000 plus, let's go, baby. You know what I mean? I'd love to see that, right? That's what I want. I don't have that conviction at this point in time. Right now, we're making lower lows and lower highs. While I'm favoring the long right now, I think price is intriguing. We do have some key macroeconomic data points coming out that historically Bitcoin has rallied in anticipation of, and they're supposed to be good data points. I'm liking I just took a long, right? I just took a long right here, long swing. My invalidation's at 57,500. My target's around 64,000. And however, if we break down below the daily baseline, I'm going to be putting on that hedge short on the daily time frame because every time we've broken below the baseline, we've made a lower low. We've made a lower low. We've made a lower low. And you bring up a good thing that wasn't even on my mind. Yeah, the historicity with Labor Day. It should be a labor year. 8 to 5. That's what we got. Let's check in on Ethereum as well. Ethereum is already broken down below the daily baseline. Okay. Excuse me. So Ethereum would already be suggesting short. Okay. Ethereum would already be suggesting short. The reason why I'm not so short happy right now, like in my mind, is because of the severity of this most recent low, right? There are a lot of, I've looked at a lot of data on this low. Open interest that was low, you know, open interest that fell off the futures markets, the amount of liquidations, the amount of money, the outflow. And this very much looks like a bottom to me. Okay. What report is coming out tomorrow? ISM Manufacturing Index doesn't come out until next week. Non-farm payroll doesn't come out until next week. U.S. unemployment data doesn't come out until next week. What report is coming out tomorrow? Core PCE? I mean, with the exception of May, PC is all, I mean, has been hitting the forecast every single time. May 31st. Did Bitcoin dump on a negative PCE? Yeah, I suppose that is not a ticker symbol. All right, May 31st. No, Bitcoin did not dump on a negative PCE. In fact, it rallied. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It rallied for a week and then dumped for almost a month. So yeah, it's definitely something to consider. I mean, honestly, look, if we don't get that upside momentum here, all right, close below. So obviously I'm in the hourly short here, close below the daily base or the hourly baseline on my hourly system. You can see we had reversal, potential entry for a reversal baseline bounce. We see price wicked up, hit the baseline, and is currently rejecting. You know, if price starts moving down, it makes me pretty confident that we're going to hit the short, that we're going to hit the stop, or we're going to hit the take profit on the short. And if that happens, then very likely, well, then we're going to be putting on the hedge shorts. So we'll be protected for that. So anybody in the private community, I guess, kind of be aware of that. As you guys know, I just kind of, just a couple of hours ago and yesterday in yesterday's mentoring session, I had talked about amending, or I laid out the specifics of how I wanted to amend our BTC USDT long. And I posted that information earlier today. So that's what we're watching for, I guess, this evening. We've got about 4 hours, so that's, you know, quite a bit of time. Daily candle closing isn't until 7 p.m. now, my time. So we'll see kind of what that evening daily close looks like. But if we close below, it's probably best to just put on the hedge short in anticipation of tomorrow's data and the long weekend. But overall, despite all that, listen, despite all that, I'm still pretty hopeful for next week. We should get a positive ISM manufacturing index, which I think is a little bit more important. And we should get, we are expecting to see good unemployment data. The most important thing, and I know I sound like a broken record, but it seems like nobody's really talking about the significance of it, is non-farm payrolls. That's the most important thing. All right, let's look at what else we got here. BNB USDT is looking very similar to Bitcoin here, you know, breaking above the daily baseline. In this particular situation, time transformation giving us a beautiful exit signal. So buy signal, exit signal, very nice setup right there. Pullback, we do have that same kind of reversal baseline bounce set up to the long side here, where price is kind of bouncing and consolidating at the daily baseline, but staying above it after a break, a successful break above. DPMO is still confirming the long, but of course we are starting to twist. So I think a long is completely valid here on BNB. But, you know, obviously we have tight invalidation. If we do end up closing below, where's the daily baseline at? If we do end up closing below $530, then we would want to be closing out the BNB position. Looking at Solana USDT, we are closing below the daily baseline. If this confirms, let's look up here. This is kind of a tough one. Do we have a bearish DPMO? We do not yet. We do not have the confirmation yet from DPMO. So we have baseline break, we have initiation, but we do not have confirmation. So we'll check back in at daily close and see if PMO can actually drop a little bit more, but Solana might technically be a daily short. XRP USDT is signaling a short and showcasing like a pretty weird head and shoulders. Yeah, pretty weird head and shoulders. Quadruple top, whatever you want to call it. Doge signaled for a short a couple days ago, hasn't made any progress. TON obviously signaled for a short here, had a big decline, but a lot of that was also, hey, SEB, no problem, man. No worries being late. I only got about 10 minutes left, 15 minutes left. I can go. So we're just going through the altcoin markets here, looking for trade setups. Cardano, again, very similar to that BNB setup that we talked about. Same as Bitcoin, successfully breaking above, pulling back. Beautiful exit signal here as well from time transformation. And now just consolidating above the daily baseline. So this is a situation where we could go for that reversal baseline bounce long. Shiba Inu, similar to Cardano there with a reversal baseline bounce long setup. Avalanche, obviously we shorted this several days ago successfully. Let's just go to... always like to do proof of trade whenever I talk about these things. Yes, there we go. AVAX USDT right there. Okay. TRX, obviously, called this out a couple of months ago. Just continuing to fly. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Chainlink. Doesn't want to load for some reason. Oh, I see. Let me just turn that off then. Yeah, I can look at Matic. It's coming up in just a few charts. Chainlink looking very similar to the Cardano, looking very similar to that Shiba, looking very similar to Bitcoin with the potential reversal baseline bounce setup. I probably stay away from Chainlink though because the others are so close to the daily baseline that they're just more attractive setup. So if you have a more attractive setup, why would you go with the less attractive setup? Yeah, no problem. Fueler? Yeah, man, I can look at Bitcoin Cash for you. Polkadot signaled short 3 days ago. So far, nice setup for Polkadot. Polkadot's one of those interesting assets. I've talked about this before. The way that I've been basically trading Polkadot for a while now. For about a year since I noticed these zones. We have its overvalued zone and we have its value zone. So, essentially, Polkadot for me is actually entering into the buy zone. Where I would like to take a position on Polkadot. I like Polkadot. I think Polkadot's a little undervalued. Certainly their marketing has been underwhelming. And so this actually, of course, might go away. Certainly will go away probably if we do enter into a bear market. But I do like the contrary setup here. I like the contrary setup of potentially even swinging long here on Polkadot. So because I've identified this bigger picture pattern, Polkadot moves into that category where I'm not really looking at it just from my strategy. And this, you'll notice this will happen sometimes. Let's talk about this. Come a little closer. Now, I am, as you guys know, a systems trader, and I advocate a systems trading approach. All right. Like my coursework, the way that I teach to trade, Pathways to Profit, it's hard. It's difficult. It's time consuming, but it's going to work better than anything you've ever done before. Okay. And I know that because I have helped thousands of people from all around the world build profitable trading strategies. And that is what I do myself. Trading, any indicator-based trading is a beautiful thing. And it works. It works just as well in 2024 as it did in 2016. Okay. When you are starting off with systems trading, the difficult thing that you are going to, the hardest thing is emotional discipline. Okay. It is controlling yourself. It is saying, okay, I'm not going to be taking any discretionary trades for a year. I'm only going to be taking the trades my strategy gives me. Okay. And that is what you absolutely should do. And you want to in the beginning, you want to completely forget everything you think you know about trading. We don't care about triangles. We don't care about resistance. We don't care about support. We don't care about patterns. We don't care about trend lines. We don't care about any of that stuff. It's all nonsense. It's all discretionary nonsense. Okay. You can make money off of that stuff, but most people do not. Okay. And the people that actually adopt the system's way of trading, which by the way, is pretty much every professional trader, right? Every professional trader has a trading system and a trading strategy based on rules and particular setups, and they only trade those setups. You know, professional like real professional traders, you know, are not like looking at the charts and being like, well, like I kind of like this setup, like blah blah blah. Like there are a few of those people out there, but 9 times out of 10, if you see somebody doing that, they're LARPing. Okay, they're not actually trading for profit. They're making their money off of influence or views or clicks or whatever, which you can just look at the stats of my channel. I'm clearly not making that much money off of views or clicks. All right. Anywho, so, but once you've been trading for several years and you're successful and you are profitable as a systems trader, you will start to notice certain patterns. Your patterns that you notice are likely going to be different from the patterns that other people notice. All right. They are just things that you will personally notice based on experience and time in the market. Okay. And when you find a certain setup in that pattern, you can do some discretionary trading. All right. For example, that is what I do with Bitcoin. I look for some very particular social sentiment, on-chain, and technical signals to give me a good sense. There's also a big time element to it, a cyclicity element to it, like, you know, about 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, to help me, to the best of my ability, identify roughly approximately where the bottom of the market is. And when I feel confident that we are near or close to that, I begin dollar cost averaging my entire trading account into Bitcoin. Okay. Again, I look for very specific signals for the inverse for when we've topped. Okay. And that is when I begin dollar cost averaging out of Bitcoin and back into USDT. That discretionary trade has returned a lot of profit for myself. Okay. And it's been absolutely worth it. Polkadot, very similarly. All right, Polkadot, you know, we'll go back and we'll look at the chart here. This is a particular trade setup where I've identified a value zone and an overvalued zone that Polkadot seems to bounce between every 3 to 6 months. So, yeah. All right. Let's see here. All right, so I got to look at Bitcoin Cash for Fueler. My bad, man. SEB says, I never hear any advertising or hype from Polkadot, whereas Matic is entering a rebranding on September 4th. Yes, absolutely. Right. So, you know, from my discussions with people who are just more like crypto native, like, you know, they're focused on the fundamentals, whereas I'm a technical guy, everybody seems to be wildly disappointed in Polkadot, mainly because of their marketing, like, or lack thereof. All right. So as an investor and somebody who wants to make money off a coin, you kind of want most of the money of the project to be going into marketing because you just want other people to buy it and number go up. SEB says the problem with everyone having their own trading strategy is what I see on Discords and Twitter, where they all post different charts predicting how a coin will move, and it's always wrong. So listen, so this is, I'll give you just a quick slice of life, and then I want to look at these charts real quick, and then I got to bounce. That is the unfortunate slice of life of being a trader and like an influencer or educator. Okay, because I, as a trader, know that I'm going to win about 70% of the time. But I also know that on occasion, I'm going to have losing streaks. Okay. So but listen, this is just the game, right? Like the people, like the traders who tend to blow up, like on social media and their YouTube channels and all that kind of stuff, they tend to put out on this persona of like, hey man, I'm usually right all the time. And if you make it, and it's true in my copy trading account, right? Like I don't run stop losses in my copy trade account. Why? Because it hurts my hit rate. Okay. I can get quite close to 100% hit rate in my copy trade account if I don't use stop losses. Now that means that I take very different trades. I use a very different strategy in my copy trade account than I do for my normal trading strategy, right? My normal trading strategy is about 65 to 70% hit rate. Great. Okay. I'm fine with losing 30% of the time because I know that over 100 trades, 1,000 trades, I'm going to make more money than I lose. But in my copy trade account, if I'm not very close to 100% hit rate, people will just not copy trade me because there are other people out there with close to 100% hit rate. And yeah, they just don't care, right? So it's always hard posting content, like you know, going online sometimes for a lot of traders who want to be influencers, because they'll like post their charts and then they're wrong, and so they're not getting that feedback that would make them want to continue to do that, because now they're like worried that they're going to post another losing chart. And it's the same emotional problem that a trader will go through. Like they'll have a strategy, they'll take a trade, it'll be a loser, and then they won't feel the conviction to take the next trade. So that is correct. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's profit sharing. Yep. I think it's like 10% or something like that. Let's see here. Okay, so let's look at, all right, so let's look at BCH, USDT for Fueler. Sorry it took so long for me. All right, BCH, it looks very similar to, I think it was XRP. XRP and Doge, I want to say. XRP did break down below the daily baseline on Tuesday, but really hasn't made any progress. Okay. Let's go back and just look at what the setup. Come on, mouse. My mouse wants to be weird right now. All right. So we'll just bring up our stop and target system and switch this to a short. Why is this being really weird? Oh, because I adjusted it. Yeah, so it would have been recommending a stop loss around $354 and an initial take profit at $294. Would have been the setup for Bitcoin Cash. That setup is still valid because within 3 days. DPMO is confirming the bearish short trade. The only thing I will comment on is that the momentum has been fairly sluck. And this kind of looks like this area of the market over here, where we had a lot of chop and a lot of consolidation. Bigger picture here, we are making lower lows and lower highs, so we always, of course, want to favor the short. Potential inverted head and shoulders, absolutely, at the resistance of the previous range. So definitely things to take into consideration. As a systems trader, I would just take the short. I would just take the short. That looks fine to me. Not on this particular asset, because I know that there's better setups out on there, and I haven't traded BCH personally for quite a number of years. But yeah, that's where let's go to bigger picture here. Our trend analysis. All right, we're definitely in a bearish trend. Bearish DMI is ascending over bullish DMI. We're also not in a strong bearish trend. ADX is underneath 25. All right, and currently rising, but not very strongly. We do, of course, have the death cross that just occurred recently with the 55 and the 21 crossing underneath the 200 SMA. Price is also underneath the 200 SMA, which is the first time it's been underneath the 200 SMA since the breakout in June of 2023. We are at the bottom of a high volume node shelf. We can see that pretty clearly there. Or excuse me, we are at the top of a high volume node shelf, and we're at the bottom of a low volume node. So since we're in a low volume node, we're either going to break down and sustain ourselves in the high volume node, which means that the new range was switched from 318 to 218, so about $100 range. But since we haven't left the low volume node yet, there's always a lot of volatility in low volume nodes, and prices range in low volume nodes. So the top of the high volume node range is about 432. So I would say that there is a greater probability that we descend in the high volume node. But there is not, I would say there's about a 30 to 40% possibility that we also range within our current bottom of about 325 or 318 to about 432. Breakout signs you would want to look for, you just got to wait for some bullish momentum unless you really want to try and snipe a bottom here, which is possible. But I would be looking for breakouts above 378. with more of a discretionary kind of generic indicator based system. With this particular strategy, I would be looking for a daily close above 352.30 to be going long. BCH is consistently yes, it has. Yes. Although I do remember the flippening way back, like after the split, right? It looked like BCH was going to flip Bitcoin for one night. And it was pretty impressive. I made a big Steemit post about it at that time. All right, guys. Unfortunately, that concludes our show. Thank you guys so much for showing up and scanning the markets with me for a while. As always, I advocate a systems trading approach. If you are interested in learning how to build your own profitable trading strategy, I highly recommend checking out our website, crackingcryptocurrency.com, where we have free educational articles as well as the ability to join our private community. Join our Discord as well. It's absolutely free. Lots of great information and great traders in there who are willing to help out if you are struggling building your own strategy or being profitable with whatever you're doing, whatever you're struggling with, risk management, indicator selection, strategy development, rule development, script coding. We've got it all. We will be back tomorrow. I cannot guarantee the time, but it'll probably be roughly around this time, around 2 to 3 p.m. in the afternoon, Central Standard Time. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, sarcastic remarks, hot stock tips, and or death threats, please leave them in the comment section down below. And other than that, copy trade me on Jumpex if you are looking for a VPN free and KYC free futures crypto exchange. I highly recommend Jumpex. The link is down in the description. If you do sign up with the link, you will get access to VIP level 3 fee discounts, which are extremely competitive with some of the higher tiers on other centralized exchanges. And they have a great selection of coins, great liquidity. I've been working with the community that was behind Fairdesk and now Jumpex for the last almost 18 months now, and I've had a fantastic experience with them, and so has everybody in my community. Never a negative remark. So besides like, oh, I lost a trade. Other than that, guys, trade safely, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.